The greatest war story ever told isn't about war. It's about a workplace dispute, and its hero, the legendary Achilles, is actually the villain. For 3,000 years, we've been told the Iliad is a story of glory. But what if it's really a brutal takedown of pride and the illusion of victory? A lesson made startlingly relevant in the wake of Christopher Nolan's new film, a sign that we're looking to these ancient stories for answers again. Many people think the Iliad covers the entire Trojan War, the giant wooden horse, the fiery destruction of Troy, the abduction of Helen. It doesn't. The poem captures just a few pivotal weeks in the war's 10th and final year, and the iconic wooden horse isn't even mentioned. So what is this monumental epic truly about? Homer, the poet, gives us the answer in the very first word of the original Greek text. Menin, rage. More than just anger, Menin is a cosmic, world-breaking fury, an anger usually reserved for the gods. And this story is about the Menin of one man, Achilles. This isn't merely a character study of a single warrior's anger management problem. It's a profound, practical guide to understanding the clash between our individual will and the grand sweep of destiny. The poem presents us with two towering heroes on opposite sides of the war, Achilles for the invading Achaeans and Hector for the defending Trojans. Through their parallel and ultimately colliding journeys, Homer poses a timeless question that resonates as strongly today as it did 3 millennia ago. Do you live for personal glory, for passion, for the fire in your own heart? This is the path of the individual, the innovator, the artist. Or do you live for duty, for family, for something larger than yourself? This is the path of the protector, the public servant, the parent. This fundamental struggle between self and society, between passion and responsibility, plays out in our own lives every single day. By exploring the choices of Achilles and Hector, we can uncover timeless secrets for navigating the turbulent waters of fate and passion in our own lives. As we will see, the Iliad teaches that destiny isn't some passive script we are forced to follow. It is the grand arena where our character is tested, forged, and ultimately revealed. The two paths, a world forged in fire. To truly grasp the weight of the choices these two men make, you must first immerse yourself in their world. Imagine a city, Troy, its mighty walls standing defiant, a bastion of civilization that has resisted conquest for a decade. Outside these walls, stretching down to the shore where 1,000 ships are beached, lies a sprawling, chaotic camp of Greek invaders, Achaeans, as Homer calls them. They crossed the Aegean Sea for a single stated purpose: to reclaim Helen, the wife of the Spartan king Menelaus, who was either abducted by or ran off with the Trojan prince Paris. For 10 long, grinding years, this conflict has been a bloody stalemate, a war of attrition that has sapped the morale of both sides and littered the plains with the dead. This is a world built on the foundations of two crucial, all-consuming concepts: honor, or timē, and glory, kleos. For a warrior in this brutal, heroic age, these are not abstract ideals. They are the very currency of life, more valuable than gold or even life itself. Timē is the tangible respect you command from your peers. It is measured in the prizes of war, treasure, weapons, and tragically, enslaved women that are distributed after a successful battle. It's your status, your reputation, your public worth. To be stripped of your timē is to be publicly shamed and spiritually annihilated. But kleos is the shot at forever. In a world without a clear or comforting vision of the afterlife, where the underworld is a dreary, joyless realm of shadows, the only true way to conquer death was to achieve undying glory. Kleos is what happens when your great deeds are so magnificent that poets will sing of them for all time. To have kleos is to become immortal in memory. To be forgotten was the real death. a final and absolute erasure. On the Achaean side, no warrior embodies the pursuit of kleos more fiercely, and no one is more terrifying than Achilles. He is the greatest fighter of his generation, a prodigy of war who moves with a grace and violence that seems otherworldly, and in a sense he is. As the son of a mortal king Peleus and a sea goddess, Thetis, Achilles is a demigod, straddling the worlds of mortals and immortals. This divine heritage sets him apart, fueling both his supreme confidence and his profound isolation. Achilles walks the path of radical individualism. He doesn't fight for Agamemnon, the over-king of the Achaean forces, nor for Greece. He fights for himself, for his own honor, chasing a glorious destiny that he knowingly and willfully accepted. His perfect foil stands as the bulwark of Troy. Hector, eldest son of King Priam, prince of the city and supreme commander of its armies. He is a phenomenal warrior in his own right, second only to Achilles. But unlike Achilles, Hector is completely, heartbreakingly human. And where Achilles' motivation is intensely personal, Hector fights for something else entirely: his people, his city, his aging parents, his beloved wife and infant son. He represents the path of duty, of social responsibility, of sacrificing personal desire for the preservation of the collective. The Iliad kicks off not with a grand battle, but with a petty, ruinous clash of egos that exposes the fragility of the heroic code. The Achaean camp is being ravaged by a devastating plague, arrows of pestilence sent by the god Apollo. The reason? Agamemnon, leader of the entire expedition, has taken the daughter of a priest of Apollo as his personal war prize and has arrogantly refused the father's pleas and ransom. Achilles, empowered by the goddess Hera, calls a public assembly and forces the issue, demanding that Agamemnon return the girl to appease the enraged god. Publicly humiliated and forced to back down, Agamemnon complies. But in a disastrously foolish display of pride, he decides to reassert his authority by exercising his royal power. To compensate himself for his loss, he announces that he will take Achilles' own most valued war prize, a woman named Briseis. For Achilles, this is not a minor slight. It is a fundamental violation of his timē, a public declaration that his contributions and his honor are worthless in the eyes of the king. The prize itself is secondary to the public dishonor. In that moment, Achilles is consumed by that world-breaking rage, his Menis. He quits. He pulls himself and his own elite soldiers, the fearsome Myrmidons, out of the war entirely. But he doesn't stop there. He goes to the shore, weeps, and prays to his goddess mother, Thetis, making a horrifying request. He asks her to go to Zeus, the king of the gods, and beg him to turn the tide of the war decisively against the Achaeans. He prays for his own side to suffer, to be slaughtered, to be pushed back to the very edge of defeat, all so that they will finally, desperately realize how much they need him. This is the path of Achilles, laid bare in all its terrible grandeur. His wounded pride matters more than the lives of thousands of his comrades. While he sits by his ships, nursing his rage and strumming his lyre, the consequences of his choice begin to unfold, and the war takes a very dark turn. Without their linchpin warrior, the Greek army begins to crumble. Seizing the opportunity, Hector leads a furious, sustained assault, breaking the Achaean lines and pushing the invaders all the way back to their beached ships. Hector is magnificent. He is a whirlwind of destruction on the battlefield. Yet Homer makes it clear that he is not a man who enjoys war. He is weary of its endless slaughter. He is bound to it by his unwavering sense of duty. In one of the most moving scenes in all of Western literature, Hector briefly returns to Troy, passing through the Scaean gates to see his wife, Andromache, and their baby son, Astyanax. Andromache, her eyes filled with tears, begs him not to go back to the front lines. She has already lost her father and brothers to the war. Hector is all she has left. She pleads with him to stay on the ramparts, to command the defense from a place of safety, to not orphan their child. But he gently explains that he cannot. He cannot shrink from battle and face the scorn of his people. His honor and the safety of the city demand that he fight. He tells her, I have learned to be brave, always, and to fight in the front ranks of the Trojans, winning great glory for my father and for myself. This single line reveals so much. Unlike Achilles, who seems to have been born a prodigy of violence, Hector had to learn to be brave. His courage is not a gift. It is a choice, a discipline, a daily practice. As he reaches for his infant son, the baby starts to cry, terrified by the intimidating horsehair crest that plumes from his father's bronze helmet. In a moment of pure, unscripted human tenderness, the great warrior Hector takes off the helmet, laughs through his own tears, and kisses his child. He says a prayer for his son's future, then gently places the baby back in his mother's arms. He puts the helmet back on, resuming the mantle of the warrior, and walks back to war, leaving Andromache to weep for a husband she already knows is doomed. This is the path of Hector. It's a path where love for one's family is not a reason to retreat from the world, but is channeled into a profound sense of duty to protect it. While Achilles isolates himself in a cocoon of wounded pride, Hector connects himself ever more deeply to the people and the city he is sworn to protect. One man lives for the self, the other lives for others. The stage is now set for a tragedy of epic proportions. The inevitable collision. As Hector and the Trojans relentlessly hammer the Achaean forces, threatening to set fire to their ships and annihilate the entire army, the situation becomes desperate. Agamemnon, finally grasping the catastrophic scale of his blunder, publicly admits his folly. Prodded by the wise old counselor Nestor, he agrees to make amends. He assembles a delegation to go to Achilles, composed of the army's most respected figures: the brilliant orator Odysseus, the mighty warrior great Ajax, and Phoenix, Achilles' beloved childhood mentor. Agamemnon empowers them to offer a staggering ransom: mountains of treasure, tripods, cauldrons, the formal return of Briseis untouched, and a public, formal apology. The embassy finds Achilles in his lodge, not training for war, but playing a lyre, singing tales of old heroes, with only his closest companion, Patroclus, for an audience. Each envoy makes his case. Odysseus, the master of logic and rhetoric, lays out the tactical disaster facing the Greeks and details the immense treasure on offer, appealing to Achilles' sense of reason and profit. Phoenix follows with a deeply emotional paternal appeal, reminding Achilles of their shared history, of how he raised him like a son. He tells the cautionary tale of the hero Meleager, who in a fit of rage also refused to fight for his people and only returned at the last minute, losing all glory. Finally, Ajax, a blunt and straightforward warrior, speaks from the heart, appealing to camaraderie and the bonds of friendship, shaming Achilles for letting his comrades die over a single woman. Achilles' response is stunning. It is far more than just a stubborn refusal. It is a profound, earth-shattering rejection of the entire heroic code upon which their world is built. He tells the emissaries that their system of honor is a sham, a lie. What is the point of being the greatest warrior, he asks, when both the brave man and the coward end up in the same dust? The same honor waits for the coward and the brave, he declares. They both go down to death. The rewards, the timē, are meaningless. Then he lays bare the prophecy that has haunted his entire life. His goddess mother, Thetis, told him that he has two possible fates. He can go home to his father's land of Phthia, live a long, peaceful, anonymous life, and be utterly forgotten by history. Or he can stay at Troy, win eternal, undying glory, kleos, and die young on the battlefield. Now completely disillusioned with the concept of honor and glory that he once prized above all else, he announces his decision to the shocked ambassadors. He is choosing to go home. He will live. But fate, that inescapable force in the Greek worldview, has other plans, and the agent of that fate will not be a king or a god, but the person Achilles loves most in the world, Patroclus. Patroclus is more than just Achilles' friend or comrade in arms. He is his other half, a tempering, compassionate presence to Achilles' fiery pride. While Achilles remains imprisoned by his own rage, Patroclus cannot stand by and watch their friends and fellow soldiers be slaughtered. Weeping, he comes before Achilles and begs to be allowed to rejoin the battle. If Achilles will not fight, Patroclus argues, then at least let him go, wearing Achilles' divine armor. The mere sight of that iconic armor would be enough to terrify the Trojans and give the exhausted Achaeans a chance to regroup. Achilles, moved by his friend's tears, but still trapped by the uncompromising logic of his pride, makes a fateful compromise. He agrees. He will lend Patroclus his armor and allow him to lead the Myrmidons into battle. But he gives him one strict, explicit order. Push the Trojans back from the ships. Save the Achaean army, but go no further. Do not, under any circumstances, pursue them to the walls of Troy. But the rush of battle, the thrill of what the Greeks called aristeia, a warrior's glorious rampage, is a powerful and intoxicating drug. Patroclus is a formidable warrior. He saves the ships, turns the tide of the battle, and kills many Trojans, including Sarpedon, a son of Zeus himself. In the white-hot thrill of victory, he forgets Achilles' warning. He pursues the fleeing Trojans all the way across the plain, driving them back to the very walls of their city. There, his destiny finds him. At the apex of his glory, the god Apollo, protector of Troy, intervenes directly. He strikes Patroclus on the back, stunning him and knocking the divine armor from his body, leaving him dazed and vulnerable. It is only then that Hector, seeing his chance, is able to step in and deliver the fatal spear thrust. The news of Patroclus' death is brought to Achilles, and it shatters his world. The rage he felt for Agamemnon was a fire of wounded pride. This new emotion is a black hole of grief and self-loathing. Homer's description of his sorrow is visceral and animalistic. Achilles pours dirt and black ash over his head and clothes, fouling his handsome features, and lies in the dust, tearing at his hair. His goddess mother, Thetis, rises from the depths of the sea to comfort her wailing son, and in that moment of absolute despair, his destiny becomes irrevocably clear. The choice his prophecy offered between a long life and a glorious death is gone. It has become a meaningless abstraction. All that's left is revenge. He will kill Hector. He knows precisely what this means. Thetis reminds him of the full prophecy. If he kills Hector, his own death is fated to follow soon after. Achilles accepts this without a moment's hesitation. "Then let me die," he says, "since I was not there to help my friend when he was killed." His first rage was for his own honor. This new, all-consuming rage is for a love so profound it completely erases his own will to live. He reconciles with Agamemnon, not out of forgiveness, but out of a cold, single-minded necessity. He needs the army to function so he can get to the front. Hephaestus, the smith god, forges him a new set of divine armor, including a magnificent shield depicting the entire world of human experience, cities at peace and at war. Achilles puts on this new armor and unleashes a rampage the likes of which the war has never seen. He becomes less a man and more a force of nature, a personification of death itself. He slaughters Trojans so mercilessly that the river on the battlefield, the Scamander, becomes choked with bodies and, personified as a god, rises up to fight him. This isn't the glorious combat of a hero, it is a psychotic massacre. He is driven by one singular, burning purpose: find Hector. As Achilles carves his bloody path across the plains, Hector stands as the last line of defense before the walls of Troy. His aging parents, King Priam and Queen Hecuba, stand on the ramparts and beg him to come inside to save himself. But Hector is bound by his own code, this time by shame. It was his aggressive strategy and his own pride that led to the Trojans being caught outside the walls and slaughtered by this resurrected Achilles. He feels he cannot retreat now and face the reproaches of his people. He knows with chilling certainty that he is probably going to die, and so he waits. But when the terrifying moment arrives and the blazing figure of Achilles charges toward him, Hector's nerve breaks. In a stunningly honest and human moment, this great hero, the protector of Troy, turns and runs. They sprint 3 times around the great city of Troy, the hunter and the hunted. Finally, fate intervenes in the form of divine cruelty. The goddess Athena, an ally of the Achaeans, tricks Hector by appearing at his side disguised as his brother, Deiphobus. Thinking he has an ally, that he will not face his doom alone, Hector finds his courage. He stops. He turns to face Achilles. He makes one last civilized request. A pact that the winner will treat the loser's body with respect and return it to their people for a proper burial. Achilles' response is a guttural snarl. "There are no binding oaths between men and lions," he says. "The duel is brutally swift." Achilles, knowing the armor Hector is wearing, his own old armor, stripped from Patroclus' body, is aware of its one weak point at the collarbone. He drives his spear into Hector's throat. As he lies dying, Hector's final words are not a curse, but a prophecy, warning Achilles that his own death at the hands of Paris and Apollo is near. The deeper meaning. What happens next is one of the most disturbing and ultimately most profound sequences in all of literature. Achilles, still drowning in his bottomless rage, does not grant Hector the honor of a warrior's death. He pierces Hector's ankles, ties them to the back of his chariot with leather thongs, and drags his rival's body in the dust, circling the walls of Troy in full, horrifying view of his wife, his parents, and his entire city. For days he abuses the corpse, dragging it around the funeral pyre of Patroclus. His revenge is total, yet it brings him no peace, no satisfaction. He has achieved the ultimate victory in the warrior's code, and in doing so has become a monster. The gods themselves are offended and protect Hector's body from decay and mutilation, preserving it for what is to come. This brutal, inhuman act is not the end of the story. Instead, it sets the stage for the poem's true, astonishing climax. Not a battle, but a quiet, desperate, and sacred meeting. Love, the counterweight to war. Throughout all the carnage, the blood, and the rage, love has been the poem's hidden engine, the force that drives the most pivotal moments. We saw it in the tender, heartbreaking farewell between Hector and Andromache, a love for family and home that was so profound it fueled his sense of duty to protect them. We also see a powerful, defining, and all-consuming love in the deep bond between Achilles and Patroclus. The exact nature of their companionship has been debated for centuries, but whether it was a profound friendship or a romantic love, its intensity is undeniable. It is the only force capable of piercing Achilles' impenetrable armor of pride. But the most transcendent and transformative form of love appears at the very end. In Troy, King Priam, Hector's father, is paralyzed by a grief so immense it is almost madness. Guided by the god Hermes, the old king conceives of an impossible mission. He loads a wagon with a priceless ransom of treasure and travels alone, at night across the dark, corpse-strewn battlefield and directly into the heart of the enemy camp. His mission is not one of strategy or diplomacy. It is an act of pure, desperate paternal love, to ransom his son's body back from the man who killed him. He enters Achilles' lodge, undetected, and approaches the great warrior. In an act of unbelievable humility and courage, Priam kneels, takes hold of Achilles' knees in a gesture of supplication, and kisses the very hands, the terrible man-killing hands, that murdered his beloved son. Priam's words are a masterclass in empathy. He doesn't appeal to Achilles the warrior, the demigod, or the victor. He appeals to Achilles the son. Remember your own father, he begs, a man like me, on the grim threshold of old age. He asks Achilles to imagine his own father, Peleus, waiting and worrying for a son who is fighting far from home, a son who, as they both know, will never return. In that electric moment, Priam's grief bridges the vast abyss of hatred that separates them. And for the first time since Patroclus' death, Achilles' glacial wall of rage cracks, and he begins to weep. He weeps for his lost companion, Patroclus, and he weeps for his own father, whom he now fully understands he will never see again. And Priam weeps for his heroic Hector. The two men, the great warrior who has lost his soul and the grieving king who has lost his son, mourn together in their shared sorrow. Their shared suffering reveals their shared humanity. This is the true heart of the Iliad. It argues in this quiet, sacred moment that empathy is the only force powerful enough to break the relentless cycle of violence and revenge. It is the moment Achilles becomes human again. War, the great revealer. The Iliad is often mistaken for a poem that glorifies war, but this is a profound misreading. Homer does not romanticize combat. He reveals it in its full, unvarnished horror. The poem is filled with unflinching, gruesome, and clinically precise descriptions of death. Homer frequently pauses the narrative to tell us the name of a fallen soldier, where he came from, who his parents were, and what they will now suffer, constantly reminding us of the devastating human cost. He shows us that war is not a glorious abstraction, but a storm that creates grieving parents, widowed wives, and orphaned children. More than that, the poem uses war as a crucible. War doesn't build character. It reveals what was already there, amplifying it to its extreme. The pressures of the battlefield expose the arrogance and insecurity of Agamemnon, showcase the disciplined, learned courage of Hector, and strip Achilles down to his three core elements: his immense pride, his profound capacity for love, and his terrifying rage. The glory won through violence is shown to be a bitter illusion. Achilles achieves the ultimate victory by killing his greatest rival, yet the act brings him only misery and self-loathing. The true victory, the poem's conclusion implies, is not killing your enemy, but finally recognizing their humanity. Destiny, the arena of choice. Looming over every event in the Iliad is the powerful concept of fate, or Moira. It can often seem like the characters are just puppets, their strings pulled by an inexorable, predetermined destiny. But this misunderstands how fate works in the poem. Fate in the Iliad is not a rigid script that cancels out free will. It's the landscape, the unchangeable set of conditions upon which our will must operate. As we explore in our studies here at New Acropolis, destiny sets the final destination, death, but it is our character that determines how we walk the road to get there. Achilles is the perfect, most powerful example. He is given a direct and explicit choice by his mother: a long, quiet life devoid of glory, or a short, violent life that will grant him immortal fame. Every step he takes is a choice. His decision to stay at Troy, his choice to withdraw from battle, his fateful compromise to let Patroclus fight, and his ultimate choice to kill Hector knowing it will seal his own doom, these are all his decisions. He actively embraces his destiny because it aligns with his passionate, prideful, and glory-seeking character. Hector too makes choices. He seems to know deep down that Troy is likely doomed. He admits as much to Andromache, yet he consistently chooses to fight, to lead, to protect his people to the very last. His fate is to die at Achilles' hands, but how he meets that fate, with courage, with a sense of duty, with love for his family, is a matter of his own character. Fate may be a fixed point, but the path we carve toward it is our own creation. Homer for today. So what does this ancient, brutal, and beautiful story have to say to us 3 millennia after it was first sung? With Christopher Nolan's Odyssey dominating the cultural conversation, it is clear that these foundational epics are speaking to our modern anxieties and aspirations once again. But where a story like the Odyssey explores the long, winding, and difficult journey home, the Iliad asks a more fundamental and urgent question: What is worth fighting for in the first place? And in answering, it teaches us that the core human conflict is not between rival armies like the Greeks and Trojans, but between two ways of being human, the path of Achilles and the path of Hector. Are you an Achilles, living from the heart, driven by your unique passions and your individual quest for achievement and self-fulfillment? This is the path of the artist, the entrepreneur, the innovator, the trailblazer, anyone with a fire in their belly that demands to be expressed. But this path carries a profound danger. Unchecked by empathy, that brilliant passion can curdle into a destructive, isolating pride, a rage that burns everyone around you and ultimately leaves you alone in the ashes. Or are you a Hector, living for others, defined by your responsibilities and your duty to your family, your community, your company, your country? This is the path of the parent, the teacher, the soldier, the caregiver. Anyone who finds meaning and purpose in service to a cause greater than themselves. But this path too has a shadow. It can lead to a suppression of the self, a life lived for everyone but you, where the weight of responsibility can crush the individual spirit beneath it. Most of us are not one or the other, but a constant, dynamic negotiation between the two. The great, challenging work of our lives is to find a meaningful balance, to learn how to harness the incandescent fire of Achilles without being consumed by it, to honor the profound duty of Hector without completely extinguishing our own individual light. Ultimately, the Iliad offers a third path, one that is revealed only at the very end, embodied in that quiet, miraculous scene between Achilles and Priam in the dark of the enemy camp. It's the path of compassion. After all the rage and glory, after all the honor and bloodshed, the poem's highest virtue is not strength or victory, but empathy. The greatest triumph is not conquering an enemy on the battlefield, but recognizing your shared humanity in their suffering. This is the path we try to walk together as a community of volunteers. This is the enduring, life-altering lesson of the Iliad. Your destiny isn't written in the stars. It's forged in the daily choices you make between passion and duty, between the self and the other, between rage and compassion. Conflict, in all its forms, will inevitably come, and it will reveal your character. Love, in all its forms, will give you a reason to endure. But it is compassion that will restore and grant you your humanity.